Hello and welcome to Find It on this Wednesday evening. We are live tonight and I have a very special guest, as I always do. I'm really excited about her. She's a teacher, she's a mother, she's a best-selling author. She has 9 books. I have one of them in my hand. We're going to talk about those a little bit and her life and what she does. And I don't want to get this wrong, but she's the founder of the Amazing Woman Nation. Since 1999, she founded that, and we're going to talk about that too. So hang tight and get ready to be inspired, because I saw this woman on Bob Donnell's show and I was like, I have to reach out to her. There was an immediate connection. And so I think she brings a lot of value and you're going to love her. So with no further ado, let's show her intro and we'll bring Marsh Engle back up. Oh my gosh, Marsh, I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy. And I just have to say, what an intro. I don't think I've ever seen one like that.
I got a good producer in the back. Makes it happen. I love it. I love it. Well, your name is Marsh Engle and you are, well, let's right off the bat, Christopher Roush, how you doing, my friend? Hey, beautiful. Can't stay long. Have weekly networking event. I have to leave to in a few. Well, we're really glad that you popped in, Christopher. And I know you can watch us on replay. We're glad you're here. But I saw you on the Bob Donnell. Here's Bob. Hi, Amazing Women. Thank you. I just am so impressed with you and just the delivery of your messages and the way you think about things. And I know that I just ordered this book and it just came in, Amazing Woman Rise. And I want to talk a little bit about this. I think this is your newest one, but you have another one coming out. Is that right?
Correct. This was the one that just released. I think it was in February of this year.
Oh, wow.
And I just actually ordered it too, because I'm here in Sedona right now and I do not have books with me. And I think I need to have some books with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I ordered it too.
Awesome. Well, I love the cover and I love what it says. And then when I thumbed through it, because I haven't fully read it yet, but I did notice that you have other women that come in and give and author it with you. And is that how your other 8 books are as well?
There are a couple that I wrote initially. My entree into becoming an author was to interview and then write the stories of amazing women. So I wrote 3 books. The first 3 were that. And then I found that really what brought 2 things. One is it brought the greatest joy would be to inspire and encourage women to tell their own stories. And there's a transformational experience that happens when we write our stories, when we tell our story and we really dig in and begin to share it. There's something that happens. So I began to coach and work with women to write their own stories. And then the books began to take shape in that form, where there's generally 8 or 10 women that join together, no different than the next one that's coming out in first quarter of 2024. But yes, so the first ones were written by me exclusively, and then I shifted over to where it would be more of a collaborative experience, where we picked a topic and then we began to write about it together. And it's generally about an 8-month experience for the women.
That's got to be really cool to, well, first of all, how do you pick the women that you want to help author the book?
That's a great question. I really do a lot of trusting that I'll be guided. And this sounds very woo-woo, but it's
no, give it to me. This is what I love.
Just the way it is, that I find a topic that's given to me. And it's just, okay, this is like, I already have the topic for the one that's coming in after the next one. But the topic comes to me, and then I just ask to be shown who would be the most inspired, powerful messengers to join together. How can I help? Who is it that I can help the most to get their message out into the world? And before I know it, I start to connect with women. And sometimes, I've met women I'm traveling right now in Sedona. I traveled in Nashville. I find women wherever I go. And it's just, I just get a sense that, yeah, I think your voice is meant to be in the next Amazing Woman book.
Mhm.
And it's generally for a few different reasons. One is, oh, I've been looking for a way that I could get my message out, or, oh, I can really use some help refining what my message is, or I have a story that I know needs to be told, or I've always dreamed of being a published author and I want to be part of a book like what you create. So there's all different ways. I get all different kinds of messages from the women when I talk to them then about, I have something I really think that you're a match for and that you're going to be interested in hearing. And 99, the truth is 99.9% of the time, I'm right on with the woman that I've connected with, and she does have a story and she does have a message, and it is time for that message to be taken into the world. And I coach primarily transformational teachers, leaders, speakers, ministers, coaches,
Mhm.
well-being experts, those in
Have
the
you ever met anybody, like, at the grocery store and
oh
you just
yeah,
all of a sudden started talking to them and then you're like and then you feel that energy, like, "I need to investigate this person more to perhaps be in my book." What's the
I
best
was on
story
the
of the
amazing, well, this has happened several times, but one of the ones that was the most meaningful to me is Donna Barr. And Donna Barr is no longer with us. She passed, and so she was just an amazing, amazing woman. But when I was on Maui, and she was on Maui, and she was staying at a retreat center.
Mhm.
And I was in my car. I had just been at the retreat center having lunch, and I got back into my car, and I heard Spirit just said to me, "You need to meet that woman that's standing there." And so I said, "Okay." So I grabbed one of my business cards and I went out and I said, "Okay, this is random, but here's my business card. I'm the real D. I really am who I say I am. And I've done the work that I'm getting ready to tell you that I've done. But I feel as though we're to connect, and there's something about what you're wishing to create in your life right now, or something that you're looking to create or looking to discover. And I feel as though I can support you in achieving that or accomplishing."
Wait, you had not had a conversation with her?
No.
So
And
you
I
just
said, "Here's my
felt
business." I said, "I'm the real deal." I said, "Go online, Google me, make sure you're comfortable.
yeah.
And when you are comfortable, give me a call." And so she gave me a call. I went back to LA. I was in LA. She gave me a call and she said, "I would like to see if I can work with you privately and if you would come to Maui, because I would like to move to Maui." So
Mm.
you believe it, I got on the plane and I went to Maui and I looked for her an apartment to stay in, to live, so she
Wow.
could move there. And then after we found that, she came and she worked with me for 7 weeks
Oh
on
my
Maui. And we went from, I have no idea what I'm meant to do here. She said, I know I'm gifted. I know I have something in a ways that I can serve, but I have no idea what that is. And we went from defining and allowing her purpose to shine and giving definition to that, to then giving definition to a book that she would write, to then giving definition to the business that she would lead. So we started with that very first process, which is quite intense, a deep process of discovering what is it that she's here to share, her purpose. And we got very clear on that. And then the rest of it was easy, finding the book to write after you know what you stand for and what you're here to share. The rest of it's very easy. But Donna Barr and I worked together. But here's why this is also meaningful, is Donna Barr and I did some of the most meaningful things together. Afterwards, we went to Haleakala and we sat. Haleakala is the volcano on Maui.
golly. Yeah.
And we set intention. That was the last thing that we did together on Maui. We set intention. And then we came back and the Women's March on Washington happened. And I wrote to her and I said, if I come to, she lived in Washington, D.C. I said, if I come to Washington, D.C., will you march the Women's March on Washington with me? She said, yes. So we went to the Women's March on Washington, and Donna was just a bold, trailblazing, pioneering,
And you felt that energy from her before you ever even spoke to her,
and
right?
knew that whatever it was that she had to bring forth was so meaningful that
Wow.
anything I could do to support her in helping her give structure. Because, when we know our purpose, or when we feel that purpose moving through us, or when we get to the place where we can hardly hold it back, we have to allow it to move through us to merge. I actually don't believe we find our purpose. I believe we allow our purpose. So there's a
Oh,
deeper
I gotta
experience.
rename this.
Yeah, allowing
To
your purpose
allow
to
it.
allow it. It's exactly it. But I love finding it, and that's what it's called many times. But really, it's about allowing your purpose to be trusted, to be known, to be recognized, to be valued, to be honored. And we all know, we can feel it within us. And when we can align with it at that place and begin to take action in the alignment of purpose, then and our intentions, that's when magic happens. And I knew that Donna Barr was a woman that was here to transform in many, many ways and many people. And she went on then. So we did the Women's March on Washington. We did, Haleakala together. We did many, many things together. She spoke for the first time on stages in Montreal at
Oh,
the Amazing Woman programs in Montreal. And I know anybody listening right now that was there in Montreal, it was an incredible experience, but that was her first time speaking on stage. And she went on to speak all over, just
wow.
was a powerful voice in the world. And then she passed a few years ago, but she was somebody that I'm kind of using her as the example of when we know who we're to connect with. It's about getting that stillness and really allowing us to connect at that level, to where I knew that what my purpose is, what I stand for, was merging with, and Spirit was saying, there's someone that you can serve. There's a woman that you can serve. And it happens to me all the time. It happens all the time. And I usually start out with, okay, it's going to sound a little random and maybe a little bit crazy, but here's my card. I'm the real deal. Please check me out before you start, before we start
Well,
talking too
because
much.
people
But
that don't understand, I wanna get into that a little bit more about you and that feeling you get and when you found out that you had that gift. But I do wanna acknowledge Lisa is on here. There's some women on here that are watching you that are very empowering and have wonderful stories. Gwen, I love Gwen. And Lisa Moser, she's on here. So, glad you guys are with us tonight. And of course, Christopher and Bob and all the rest of them that are watching. But I am inspired by, like, when I listened to you on the Bob Donnell show, I kept thinking it wasn't even as much of I was using my thoughts as much as it was a feeling I was getting when you spoke. And part of it, I think, was just your authenticity of knowing who you are. And when you speak about what you do, you own it. And so even if other people don't understand, you're okay with that because you know who you are. How did you figure that out about yourself? Embrace it. Like, you didn't, like I said before the show, you didn't just pop out of the womb saying, "Hey, I'm Marsh Engle and I get these feelings from spirit and I I know things." How did you figure this out about yourself?
Deb, I was born what I call a natural intuitive. And that means that as a child, and many, many, many of us as a child, I knew things. I could hear things. I could sense things, just from a very early on. And I honestly believed, Debbie, that everyone could. And I still to this day believe everyone can.
Mhm.
But just like most of us have put a wall up, or a shield up, or something that prevents that from opening up. So when I, got to the place where, I think the real awakening came, when enough was enough. I mean, I used the skills, I used the capacities, I used the abilities in all of my careers. I just didn't call it intuitive knowing, or a sense of trust, or a sense of knowing, or just, I actually still am not clear that it's intuition as much as it is just a sense of knowing, just a presence and a knowingness,
Hmm.
and acting from that place, which takes a lot of courage. But I did not, I was definitely not free in that. What happened was in 1999, my mom passed suddenly and unexpectedly of a heart attack. And I was devastated. I
Mm.
mean, devastated. Everything that I thought was important to me in the world just disappeared in a moment, it seemed to me. I was living in Los Angeles. I flew to Evansville, Indiana, which is where I'm originally from. And I sat in the middle of my mom, what I called my mom's room, my mom's bed. It was her room where she had all of her clothes. She loved angels. She was incredibly spiritual. She wrote beautiful, beautiful prayers, and she played music and just was an incredible, beautiful woman. And I sat there and in the middle of her bed, I was devastated. And we could say I was surrendered. I did
Mm.
not know who I was or what I was doing. I just knew that my mother had passed, and I was just, my heart was broken. And in that brokenness, in that heartbreaking, was the opening where my mother and my grandmother both came in and said, "It's time. It's a search for the amazing woman, Marsh. This is your time."
Oh,
And I thought, I don't know what that would be. But here's what happened, Debbie. Immediately, I got write your mother's eulogy. Now, I did not know they were connected. I didn't know A Search for the Amazing Woman and Write Your Mom's Eulogy was connected. This was in 1999. Evansville, Indiana was not something that a lot of people did, was write and deliver their mom's eulogy. I was not a writer. I was not an author. I was not a speaker. None of those things. This was all completely foreign to me.
one second. I feel called to say this. Any of the girls that are on here, if Heather Bryant, could you please send this to Heather Bryant? She needs to hear this. This is strangely in alignment with, she just lost her mom and she's really going through it.
Yeah.
And her mom was musical and spiritual and all of those things.
Message,
Anyway,
right? There's probably a
that
message for her. Definitely a message for her. I'd love for her to join.
yeah,
Um, but
Gwen, send this to her.
I just did not. I didn't. I honestly, Debbie, I did not connect that there was a something with Amazing Woman and something with my mom's eulogy. Other than I knew that I was drawn to honor my mother, and
Mhm.
I wanted to tell her story. And I felt as though I had the heart and soul of my mom's understanding of her life. So I wrote the eulogy and I delivered the eulogy that day. And then I began to just literally go out. Literally, this was not strategized. This wasn't, I wasn't a published author. I wasn't a writer. I wasn't a storyteller. I wasn't a speaker. None of the things that I was called to become. But I began to collect stories of women. And before I knew it, I had an agent reach out to me. An agent had heard about what I was doing and had reached out to me. And I can remember I was driving down the freeway at the 405 or the 101, the 101 in Los Angeles. And the agent called and she said, "I want to know about your work." And I literally pulled over on the side of the road and spoke with her.
Exciting.
And she said, "I really feel like your work is to be recognized and known." So I said, maybe very nervous,
Oh,
to
yeah.
and to step into a role that was completely foreign to me. Did not have an understanding of what it meant to be an author and what it meant to even write a book. But
What career path were you currently in? Were you a teacher?
I was a marketer for television and film studios, which gave me this is why I say that every single thing in your life, Debbie, everything in our life is preparing us for this moment.
Yeah.
So
Do you hear this? Say that again. Everything in life
is
is
preparing us for
preparing
this
us for this
moment. There's
moment.
nothing to be overlooked, diminished, denied, nothing. The good, the brilliant, the things that are heartbreaking, everything is meant to bring us to this moment. And when we can that's why forgiveness is so important. That's why
Mm.
acceptance is so important. That's why self-honor is so important, because we really have a roadmap, but we've denied it. So part of my roadmap was opening up to my intuitive gifts, or opening up to my clairvoyance, or opening up to the ability to tune in and have, I think, empathy that Bob Donnell and I spoke about it, a deep connection with people to where I could see and feel.
Oh.
what their needs were, or what their gifts and talents are. And so I think that I, started collecting these stories, and then got the opportunity to go to Teotihuacan, Mexico with Don Miguel Ruiz. And again, that was another story. I was, a friend of mine took me to a bookstore and introduced me to the Four Agreements right when it first came out. And when he handed it to me and put it in my hand, I felt a charge go up my arm. And I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to study with this author. And he said, Marsh, there's the likelihood of you studying with Don Miguel Ruiz. He's like, Oprah just named it the book that changed her life. I don't even know if he said, the likelihood, I said, I'm telling you that I'm going to study with Don Miguel Ruiz. I'm telling you that this is going to happen. I can see it. So a few days later, a week later, I'm sitting, and you know how they have like Whole Life Times, or one of those magazines that has all kinds of ads in it. And forgive me, Whole Life Times, I don't mean to be diminishing the importance of it, because it brought me to Don Miguel. But I opened it up, and there's this ad, and it's not a big ad, Debbie. It's a small little ad, and it said that Don Miguel was taking a group to Teotihuacan, Mexico, and it had a phone number. And I thought, oh, well, let me just call right now.
What year was this? Like 2000?
This is in this would be about 2000, the end
2000,
of.
Yeah, because I'm thinking after.
My mom died in January of 1999. It was probably the very end of 1999, early 2000. And I mean, literally, I'm in this
number from.
I had my feet propped. I have my feet propped up on this chair, and I'm like on this phone. And I called, and Rita Rivera answered the phone. And Rita's a beautiful, beautiful teacher, and one of Don Miguel's teachers. And I said, I would like to go to this place in Mexico that you're taking people. I couldn't pronounce the name. There's no way. I didn't know how to pronounce Teotihuacan, Mexico. So I said, there's a place you're going to Mexico, and I would like to go with you. And she said, oh, honey, she said, that's been sold out for weeks. And I said, that's really strange. I said, because I can see me there with you. I know that I'm going to be there. I can see that I'm there with you. And she said, hold on a minute. And Rita, gratefully, was also clairvoyant. And she said, do you know what? I see you there with us also. She said, okay, here's the thing. It's sold out.
Oh my gosh. You guys.
She said, it's sold out. But if you can pack and be ready to go in a very short notice, then I think we can get you in. But you have to be flexible with us, because I can't guarantee you. It would mean somebody canceling. So I said, okay. I literally left the restaurant and went out and bought whatever I thought a person going on a spiritual vision quest would need. I bought everything I thought they would need, like boots and hats and those kinds of things. So I got the call, and I got on an airplane, and I went to Mexico City, and I met up with the group. And through that journey, went, it was about 8 days. At the very end of the journey, I'm traveling up the Pyramid of the Sun, and I'm holding the intention that I'll be shown, how can I use my gifts and talents? How can I use my own divinity? How can I invest that in my voice? How can I allow that divinity to move through my voice? How can I serve people? How can I make a difference in the world? What does this mean to the women I'm called to interview? What does all that look like? What does this mean? And I got to the top, and it is blank. There is nothing coming through. Debbie, it is blank. There's nothing. I don't hear a thing.
Nothing in your noggin.
No. I got up to the top of the pyramid, and I came back down, and there's it's a big journey to come back down. It's very much a ceremony, a beautiful ceremony of coming back down, and very, filled with intent. And I promise you, I got to the bottom of the pyramid, and my feet hit the ground, and I heard the words, create a day on which all women honor themselves. Create a day on which all women honor themselves. And then this began to make sense for Amazing Women's Day, or the Amazing Woman movement that was taking shape by way of me interviewing women, and then began to write books about women. And now I'm create a day on which all women honor themselves. Now that definition of creating a day on which all women honor themselves has changed a myriad of times. What that meant, I took it literally, create a physical day. So for 10 years, I did Amazing Women's Day events all over the United States,
Wow.
into Canada, into Jamaica. But create a day on which all women honor themselves. And I said to Spirit, I said, how in the world would I ever create a day on which all women honor themselves? And Spirit said, you've been prepared your entire life
Oh my gosh.
to exactly this.
Wow. You guys, are you I'm like I wish I could get through the screen to you and just
So,
give
but
you the
my
biggest
message is that
hug.
I'm not the only one that has been prepared her whole life to contribute, to make a difference. There's nothing special like that. Yeah, that was dynamic, that was meaningful, that was significant. It definitely opened my heart and my eyes, and it definitely moved me in the direction of doing the good work that was, moved through me and out into the world. But I'm not the only one that's gifted in this way. Everyone has a purpose that's speaking through them. It speaks through their enthusiasm. It speaks through the people that they meet and they connect with. It speaks through their ideas and their longings and their passions. It speaks through those things that are the most bothersome to them. What are they willing to take a stand for? What's the most bothersome to them? So the purpose is speaking through us, and it's speaking through all of our life experience from the time that we're born. Every single life experience is moving us in the direction of where we can make the biggest difference in the world. So while my story is, incredibly significant to me, your story is significant to you, or any
Yeah.
of the, Bob's story is significant to him.
Oh,
And he has a really significant, meaningful story that
yes.
has led him to do incredible good work in the world. It just moves me every time I hear him. And yes, exactly. Lisa says everyone has a message. Absolutely right. We all do. And that message has been percolating and moving through us since we were tiny children. And then life experiences come along. In this case, my mother passed, and she opened a door that said, Marsh, it's time.
I go back to that just for a second, because when you said, because it was she and your grandmother gave you, I mean, it was not like they said, "Hey, Marsh," but they delivered
Pretty
a
much did.
really? How did that
Pretty
did you hear
much
it?
came
Did
in
you
and said, we're here with you. We're here with you. And it's your time. It's your time, Marsh. It's a search for the amazing woman. It's your
wow.
time. Now, I thought, as many of us sometimes want to think, that searching for the amazing woman was outside of me, that I was searching, and I literally went outside and searched to meet amazing women. Now, there was nothing wrong with that, because those amazing women began to reflect to me parts of myself that had
Mhm.
been diminished or denied or forgotten or overlooked or just
Mhm.
dismissed, just dismissed. And so that I called the interviews I was doing, I called them transformational interviews, because that was opening me up to see more about myself, and it
Oh,
was opening them to see
wow.
more about themselves.
And you know what's crazy that you say this? You articulated that perfectly for when people ask me, what's the purpose that you do Find It? Why do you want to do a podcast? I love this right now. I'm I'm having an emotional response and feelings to the things that you say. I'm learning from you, but you're right. There are parts of you that you're speaking about that I also know I have in me. And it's powerful. My gosh, I think everybody should do a podcast. I think everybody should bring people like you and people around the world to other people. This is how we learn and grow. This is amazing to me. I love this so much. So, okay, keep going.
Agree with
Keep
you. I
talking.
agree. I agree.
I
But
do.
back in 99, this was not the case. When I first started Amazing Woman, and I had gotten this this drive to create the awareness of an amazing woman. What is she? Who is she? How does she recognize herself? How does she connect with purpose? What moves her? What inspires her? I just wanted to know her. And it
Mhm.
was my own longing to know myself. I
Mhm.
really, really had a deep longing to know myself. But I think that what came to me through that was it was really about connecting with our feminine nature, our all-knowing nature, our intuitive nature, our insightful nature, that nature that allows us to connect with one another at that deeper loving level, that place of being able to respect and honor and see within another person parts of ourself that we've denied, and then honor them for that, and then find ways to honor ourselves. And our feminine nature became, Amazing Women's Day stood for feminine leadership and feminine success. And that was yet another doorway to walk through, because that was very foreign to people. And that gave me strength. So everything you're doing, Debbie, what I want to say is everything you just said about your podcast and about how important it is to bring our voices to the world, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah, and it just the more I do this, and it's empowering because like I think what you did was you went out and you spoke to people, and when you would see glimpses of yourself in these amazing women, and then like you said, you found yourself in that spot, and you found yourself in everyone else, which also brings me to my next question. Have you always been a cheerleader for other women?
I love that question because it gives me the opportunity to go back to my earliest remembrance of the first books that I actually wrote when I was about 5 or 6 years old. And I would bring kids in the neighborhood together, and I would ask them questions, and I would write their stories, the
Oh
answers to their
my
questions
gosh,
in a
this was
story.
written in the stars for you.
And
You
then I
were
would
doing that
type
as a
it up on
kid.
a little kid's typewriter, and it became a newsletter. And then I would do events in the backyard, with my, like using a sheet as the curtain to the stage. I was just
Wow.
a very basic drive and passion to put kids on stage, to shine their light or shine their talents, and
Yeah.
find ways to build their esteem or build their confidence and build their
Mm.
willingness to show up. And it's because I wanted it for myself. I was driven to discover that for myself. I remember when I first started in doing the Amazing Women's Day events, women would come up in tears and say, Marsh, thank you so much for doing this for us.
Mm.
And I said, thank you for allowing me the opportunity for this to be done, because I'm gaining as much from this as you're gaining from it.
And that's what I love so
It's
much because it's when you learn, and I've never felt honestly, and I've had my daughter's gonna be on the podcast with me next week, but she's admitted that she hasn't always been really happy for other people when sometimes she's had that green monster, the little jealousy. And I appreciate her being able to talk to me about that, and she works her way through it. I've
Mhm.
never I get really happy for people, and I always think I get inspired by people and other women who do amazing things, and I think, gosh, that inspires me that
Mhm.
I can do that too. And I don't think I can't remember a time where I've been like, I've been more like, "Wow." And so, and when other people get, and I've been talking to my daughter about it too, when you have a candle lit and then you light someone else's and their candle lights, that's brighter. You guys are just like feeding off of one another. And I love to be around other people who help me be better, who can shine their light on me too. And so you doing this, highlighting all the other women, which like I didn't understand what you did. I know your first 3 books, I believe you said, were
Mhm.
you yourself writing it, but then all the rest are a collective of other powerful, amazing women writing their, and that speaks to me of who you are. You're highlighting other people, and you're good with that. You want to do that.
I have a passion for it, but we all have our own journeys. So jealousy probably serves in many ways for others too. But for me, I find great opportunities to learn and expand and grow and do the work I feel that I'm here to do, which is to create a platform for many, many voices to be spoken through. I did not know that in the beginning. I did not know. I really, truly, when Amazing Women's Day first came through, and I asked Spirit, like, how am I ever going to create this? We did 50 cities the first year, I
When
mean,
you say spirit, what is that to you?
my higher self,
Okay.
my source connection,
Yes. And you
many
said your mom was very,
very,
very
very intuitive and I believe she was my first shaman mentor. I believe she
okay.
was my first shaman. She would never have said that back then. That wasn't something you said,
Yeah.
as a woman then. There actually was a lot you didn't say when you were a woman in that early in life. But I think that we really I've lost my train of thought. What were we
No,
talking?
you're
Oh, when Spirit,
connected.
yeah, I said, how in the world would I ever create this? And they said, Spirit just said, stop imagining, this is much bigger than you can imagine.
Wow.
And that was my first guidance, to surrender to trusting and knowing that all that's required will be provided. All that's required will be provided. But I had to get out of my own way, because I was I was so used to controlling and structuring and producing and organizing and thinking it had to be a certain way.
Oh,
When I was able to say, I don't know, that's
mm,
when the doors started opening. And I've gotten better since that day. That was a long time ago. That was in 2001 was our first celebration of Amazing Women. That first day when I surrendered into knowing that I don't know, I've made it a point to do my best to get better and better and better and better at not knowing. Just don't know.
yeah.
So that the clarity can come in, so that the
Yeah.
guidance can come in, so that the times when I'm to get out of a car and go connect with a Donna Barr or a woman like that, I can hear it and I can sense it and I can feel it, because I'm not thinking about, oh, what would she think about me, or she's going to think I'm crazy, or who am I to think that she would want to, I mean, any of those kind of diminishing thoughts didn't have space there, because I thought, you know what? I think I'm feeling guidance to go connect with this woman. I'm just going
And
to.
that's owning it. That's the part of you that I felt when I listened to you with Bob. You just
Thank you.
giving, this is who you are. And it's so refreshing that you just explain, this is what I felt called to do. And this is what I do. Have you ever gone up to someone and said, I feel like, do that. And then they're like scared of you or anything or
Well, I
no?
usually set them up for, I set the
But
conversation up for, if you are uncomfortable. I generally set
yeah.
it up saying, this is really random, but I
Yeah.
get a sense that I have something that I can help you with. I do something that I can help you with that you may be looking for. And I don't know if this is true or not, but here's my card. And before we talk any further, just go Google me and look at what
Yeah.
I've
Okay. So
done.
you always
My
like,
website. If you get
okay.
any residents that I'm to connect with you, or that we're to connect, you give me a call. And
I
if I don't hear from you, it's no big deal. But I just kind of set it up for full acceptance of whatever,
Yeah, that's good.
it
That's
is,
a nice
because it's
delivery.
weird. I mean, if somebody came up to me, I actually have had women, I've had psychics come up to me and said, I've got messages for you. And I've responded that, thank you, but I'm trusting my own inner knowing.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, but no, thank you. And
gotcha.
yeah,
Okay.
I've
Alright.
rejected before.
Yeah, so, I
I
was
understand
gonna
that
have her, but
somebody would.
don't put that up there yet, Len. So, one of the things that you had written was transforming women's worth. When you transform a women's worth, do you just simply mean get into that space where you do feel worthy?
I feel like worthiness is one of our last doorways. I feel that it requires complete surrender to our strengths, our powers, our relationships with source, whatever that is for us, that deeper knowing within ourselves. It really requires a complete surrender. And to me, that's what worthiness is. Worthiness is not something outside of me. Worthiness is something within me that says, I think it's time for you to honor the gifts you've been given. I think it's time for you to honor and recognize that you're here to serve. I think there's something bigger than you that's wanting to be birthed through you. And in order to do that, worthiness is the doors have, I mean, like, I see like a castle, with those great big doors and the big heavy doors that have to open. But when they open, there's this huge opening. That to me is what worthiness looks like.
Wow, I have never heard of it put like that.
When you surrender into a recognition of how very beautiful and powerful, like Debbie, you had the idea to do a podcast, and probably when you had the idea to do a podcast, you maybe didn't feel qualified or ready. I don't know. Maybe you did.
No, I didn't.
I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm doing this.
I still wonder.
And then
there
was a deep knowing within you that said, hey, heads up, Debbie, you're going to bring people onto your show and you're going to engage them through this dynamic personality and this dynamic beauty that you are, this love for people, this love for celebrating people, that's going to create this sense of safety for people that come on to share their stories and make a difference. But you did not know that the day you said, I'm willing to do this, right? I mean,
I didn't know. And there's a lot. You're right on. You're right on track. Yes.
So your doors flung open.
Yeah.
Those big castle. What are those doors called on a castle? The gates or whatever they're called. Big doors, heavy doors, whatever they're called. And they flung open, and your worthiness came in and said, "Go for it, girl.
Yeah,
go for it." I'll say, amazing woman, go for it.
Amazing woman, go for it. I've been going for it. And like this next chapter of my life, I'm just like,
it's unfolding. It's going to continue to unfold. It's going to continue to unfold because you've said yes. And after we get used to saying yes, we surrender to our worthiness and we get really comfortable saying yes to our worthiness.
Yeah. Then
more opportunities come in and it becomes easier and easier and easier and easier. So the next yes could be for, we don't know whatever vision might be coming up for you, but it's going to become easier because you've already created an opportunity that you said yes to, and you've seen how dynamic that it, yes, exactly right, Bob. Surrender into recognition. That's a beautiful way of saying it.
Oh, he's good with this. He's
beautiful.
He's like that.
It's beautiful.
Very good.
Yeah.
But then you said, you talk about spiritual and feminine principles.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do, for me at least, I can't speak for everyone else, but when I think spirituality and femininity and, like you said, your intuitiveness and all of this, it's almost like this all rolled up into a ball. Like it's all encompassing of us as women. I mean, we can bring life into the world. We can, if we choose to. And I just feel like, my spiritual side, I don't feel like I'm a super religious woman. I'm very spiritual. I believe in God and I pray to him but I'm also very aware of, when I just say it like this, when you say you get messages, I get things that'll pop into my head. Like, it's like, I'll hear not hear it with someone else's voice. It's just like, something pops into my head and I'm like, and there's been something that continues to, and I'm not going to talk about here, but something that continues to pop into my head. And I'm like, where is that coming from? I just, as I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I get
your spiritual nature though. That is your spirit. So spiritual, from my perspective, from my definition, does not mean equal religion.
Yeah.
Spirituality and religion some people can equate the two together, and it's a beautiful experience. But for me, when I speak about spirituality, I speak about the unseen, unknown, the formless.
Yeah.
That's what, for me, the spirituality is that it's energy, it's vibration, it's frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And when we begin to allow that part of us, or allow ourselves to source that part of us, then that's when messages come. And if messages come multiple times, it's time to pay attention to what that's saying.
Yes.
And I talk to it, when I get message, I'm like, you know what, you got to make it a little bit more clear than that. I can't I have no idea what this means that you're saying to me. And, make it, sometimes I'll say, give me a billboard on it. Like, give me a big few word billboard so I can get what's wanting to make its way through to me. And I'm a lot better today than I was yesterday, but it's a continual evolution. It's a continual expansion. And one of the things that my next book is about is women really owning that
Oh,
and recognizing
I'll
the
be getting that
strength.
one.
Yeah, the strength that comes through when we say it's okay to not know and open ourselves up to a higher knowing, a higher understanding of what guidance is coming to us.
Wow. And then the fact that you've helped thousands and thousands and thousands of women across the world. Um, and then with your books, who knows how many people you've helped that you don't even know of because of your books that are worldwide best-selling. But the other part of this is I do want to put this, I don't know, time just flew by, but I want to put this picture up of you interviewing Maria Shriver. I'm not sure when this
Mhm.
was.
This is a great
Um,
experience.
I know. I was like, "Oh my
It was
gosh," and
a
I
great
actually met
experience.
her as well.
And you know what happened is I got an email. First of all, I was awakened at like 5 a.m. This is a true story. 5 a.m. I was awakened and I heard, go look at the computer. So I got up and I went and I looked at my mail, and there was in my inbox was an email from Maria Shriver's people asking if I would like to interview her.
Oh my gosh, Mark.
Mhm. And here's my inner dialogue. Oh my gosh, could I ever do that? And then the next thing was, you got the invitation, say yes.
Yeah.
The invitation is there, say yes. But it wasn't before I had to like jump over
Build
my
yourself up.
yeah, I had to jump over my own resistance that said,
Wow.
how could you do that?
Now,
And
see, even you, after being, a distinguished author, helping women, founded this beautiful for women, Amazing Women Foundation. I keep wanting to call it the wrong thing. I think a nation, the Amazing Women Nation, and then to have this opportunity, even to second guess yourself. Do you think that's human nature?
I think well, today what I see when I hear it is it's a doorway for expansion.
Okay.
It's a doorway for expansion. So if I hear myself denying something,
Okay.
denying an opportunity, meaning diminishing my
Mm.
worthiness, right?
Mhm.
Remember, think of that door opening. So if I
Mhm.
hear myself saying something that diminishes my worthiness, like, how could you possibly interview Maria Shriver? That's diminishing my worthiness, right? And then I said, let me fling open the doors because I got the invitation, say yes. And I wrote and I said, yes, what time? And they wrote back 6. And I said, 6 p.m. where? And they said, 6 a.m. at Cal, at the women, the California Governor's Conference on Women. And I said, 6 a.m. And I thought, okay, 6 a.m. That's going to be
Were you
early.
in the same state?
It was in Long Beach and I was in Pasadena.
Okay.
So it was maybe an hour
Yeah.
drive. Yeah. So I went the night before and stayed at a hotel. And because I
Okay,
like
so I'm
6
gonna put
a.m.
this
early.
picture up here.
Yeah.
So this is you, and
That's
this is Maria Shriver.
Yeah,
I mean,
what a
she
day, huh?
is so
What an
intently looking at you.
experience. What an experience, right. What an experience.
And
That was
so
a
did
doorway.
what were you were interviewing her about, just women empowerment or what?
I was interviewing her about women's empowerment. She takes a very strong stand, especially for women in health. She just spearheaded something that's been passed through the White House that will recognize and honor women's health in a much larger, bigger way. And forgive me for not knowing more about what the
The actual terminology is with it,
yeah,
but
but I
it's
just
about
know it has
women's
something to
health.
do she's very, very focused on women's health, and so the interview was really about how can we approach our health in a much more expanded understanding of our own empowerment, and that's such that kind
That's
of
really
conversation.
good. That's really
Mhm.
good.
That kind of
I
somewhere on YouTube, you'll see that interview recorded.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
a
so
lot
I
of
can
years
find
ago. That was a lot of years ago.
okay, have you
Early in
stayed
my
in touch
career.
with her at all?
No, I have not. I haven't spoken with her. No.
I follow her on Instagram, and she does these really cool Sunday posts,
I
and a lot
love
of
her. I love
yeah,
her work. Don't you love it?
I love it. And she writes it in a way where it's so refreshing and open, and anyone can understand her message. It's
So
just
such
really
an
good.
inspiration and
Yeah.
really a model of an amazing woman who just uses all of her resources to give and to support and follows her vision and holds true to her vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, really a model of an amazing woman.
I love it. I did meet her in Columbus when she was still married to Arnold, but we were in a huge crowd. We were at the same table having dinner, but it was it
Challenge,
wasn't like I
yeah,
could
it's
just,
a
like,
challenge.
have
He
a
was in and
conversation.
out. The interview was like, okay, the interview and now you're out. There wasn't
Yeah.
she would stand with I wrote the book on the female firefighters of New York City right after 9/11,
Oh,
and
wow.
she did hold the book and we did a picture with
That's nice. Oh, that's
with
awesome.
that book, and I gave it to her as a gift. But that was it. You know, it was she's very, very full schedule. So to connect with her just for the time that I did was quite the honor.
I've been thinking about this keeps popping in my head the whole last, like, minute that we've been talking. I have often heard, and I've used this saying, what I would tell my younger self. What would you tell your younger self?
Yeah. So much, right? So much. What would I tell my younger self right now? I think I'd tell her to chill out and just trust and know that there's a lot more unfolding here than what you might know right now, and that pay attention, be really still and pay attention of how valuable everything you're experiencing is, even the painful parts. Really
Well, okay,
powerful.
so I know that we're about I don't know, I don't care. You told me I had an hour, I may use the whole bit because you know what, I want you to just tell us a little bit about that accident you had and then what it
Mm,
forced you to do.
yeah, that's good. I haven't really spoken about this, um, but I had decided to go out to lunch with a friend who came by to pick me up, and we were in a high-speed, high-impact car crash. I was not driving. I was in the passenger side, but the passenger side took a lot of the momentum, and it injured my spine. And I was speaking on stages at the time, and I had a lot going on. I was traveling a lot. I was out and about, and it literally took me off the stages. And I stopped everything. So I went to lunch one day. I ended up with surgery. I spent a year trying to heal it on my own, and I wasn't successful doing that. And then I had surgery, and it took a year to heal that. Actually, I think it was about 3 years in the healing process. But I went to lunch one day with one of my mentors, one of my spiritual mentors, and she said to me, "What is it? What's the biggest thing you've learned through this process, this injury, this accident, this, you know, stopping everything, letting go of where you thought you were going, and um, healing. Terrified that I wouldn't
Mhm.
heal, terrified that I'd never find my way back, going through all of my own inner dialogue and simultaneously opening up a level of energy that was beyond anything I'd ever experienced. It was like a kundalini. Are you familiar with kundalini?
Kundalini, yeah,
It was a
absolutely.
kundalini awakening
Yes.
yet again. I'd had them multiple times, but this was a big one.
Wow.
And it was really quite an intense time for me and quite a beautiful time. And I went to lunch, with my spiritual mentor, and she said, "What's the biggest thing you learned?" And I said that everything that we desire is in stillness.
Yeah.
That everything we desire is in stillness. All the answers, all the resources, all the deeper understanding. And she said, "That's what you'll be teaching. That's what you'll be teaching now." So learning that, I spend a lot of time in Sedona right now. I've spent a lot of time on Maui. For me, when I'm in nature is when I can connect with and amplify that stillness within me. And I cannot speak enough about how important stillness is. And whatever that is for you, it could be, right now, music also amplifies. Actually, music is an amplifier for me of stillness.
Hmm.
And being in the presence of others that are
Mm.
spiritual, I'll say seekers, but really spiritual, celebrating their spirituality, celebrating their desire for stillness, being in nature, being in any kind of, I spend a lot of time in Sedona. I call it on Sedona because I'm so used to being on Maui, an island. And I always say when I'm on Sedona, and I like it's an island. I even said on the island of Sedona. But I go to there's a beautiful church here that's, I just did a video a few weeks ago on it. I think it was the day I did the interview with Bob Donnell, is that I went up there and I was just in gratitude. And that the church is in the middle of the rocks. You know, it's a beautiful, I think it's called the Chapel of the Sacred Heart. Maybe it's called that, but it's in Sedona, and there's a stillness there. There's just a stillness. The minute you walk up, there's stillness. And when I'm in stillness, it amplifies my stillness. Wow. My mind doesn't want to race or spin or try to figure things out as much. You know, when I sit in front of the computer, it's very easy to fall into that rhythm of not being in stillness, of trying to figure things out, of trying to structure and overthink and overdo. You know, then there's also there's other places here that have been built that are intended to create stillness. But I think the bottom line is what I'm saying, whatever it is that helps you to find and slow down the busyness of your mind, that's stillness.
And we live in a world that there's always something coming at you. So if you can find a place where you can be, and I mean, you know, they say that if you are really able to meditate and you practice that, you could even be on the subway and find space.
Yes, exactly. Meditation is not just slowing everything or closing our eyes and going deep in. Meditation can be, you know, the Japanese art of meditation is doing, you know, dishes or sweeping the floor or any type of art. Everything's considered a meditation in Japanese culture.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, stillness is really about allowing a deeper connection with one's presence. So it could be breath work, it could be meditation, it could be dance, it could be hiking in nature, or just being, you know, sitting in nature. Like one of the biggest ways that I find stillness sounds pretty corny, but oh well. I go to the church, the church in Sedona here, and I help people take pictures of themselves at the church. So I volunteer. I'll go up. I'll say, "Would you like me to take a picture of you?" And they're so joyful and so happy to have somebody taking pictures of them. And for me, that's my contribution at the church in the ride. And I'm taking pictures of these joyful people. That brings a sense of stillness to me.
Yes, and that joy that other people who are happy, that are joyful, it rubs off. It really does. Who I saw on Instagram, you were, I don't know if it was recent or not, you went and saw some type of spiritual being, some type of spiritual leader of some sort. It looked like a monk.
That was great, wasn't it? I had no idea. I just got the sense. Wasn't that incredible? I did not know. I'm going to tell you, I signed up to go to a drumming for the new moon.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was. I thought there were going to be people drumming at the front. I did not know. I had no idea. You know, I'm in the middle of writing a book. I've got a lot of people I coach. You know, my life is very
you got a lot going on.
So I signed up. I said, I'm going to do this. So I got in the car, I got over there, and I walked in. I said, "Oh my gosh, I've seen you before. I wanted to meet you." He said, "Well, tonight's the night you're going to meet me." And he is a medicine man that is part of a tribe that is at the bottom of the, oh my God, what am I like, what are this, forgive me, I don't know enough.
I know. I'm not good at helping either.
A medicine man that is an Indian medicine man.
Okay.
And he led a ceremony for the new moon that was incredible. There was they call it the grandmother drum. And it wasn't just him doing it. He engaged, there were probably 15 people there. And he engaged every single person. We were all drumming. We were all playing grandmother drum. We were all, and I work with a breath work practitioner that keeps me moving. And I said, did a work session with her last night. And I said, he even had me running backwards. I was running backwards. you know,
But the drumming though, when you hear a drum, when it's in rhythm like
huge,
that all together, boom,
huge.
it
And
just
he
feels
taught
good,
us how to
doesn't it?
do it. Yeah, amazing man. At the what is all the big deep rocks here by Sedona? What is it? It's
The
like an
boulder
no, it's like ridiculous that I can't remember it, but I'm just
in Sedona,
near Sedona.
near Sedona. Okay, I don't.
I cannot remember the name. It's embarrassing that I can't remember the name of, but an amazing, amazing medicine man. And I had the opportunity. So there's incredible opportunities all the time that are presenting themselves to us. And it's about not overthinking and just going where we feel guided to go. And that would be an example of that. I had no idea. And I said, oh, I wanted to meet you. I've seen you before. And I wanted to, and he said, well, you're here tonight. You're going to meet me tonight.
That's so fun. And then to have that amazing event. I mean, that's running backwards, drumming. It's the new moon. That's amazing. Well, I will wrap it up, but I can't let you go without asking the question that I ask everybody that comes on the show because it's called Find It. So, in your life, what have you found? Of course, you've found a lot,
Mm,
but what have you found that has inspired you that you can share with us to help inspire us?
mm. I feel that you are the reflection, you know? We reflect
Mm,
to one another.
mhm,
We reflect love to one another. We reflect power to one another. We reflect worth to one another. We reflect strength to one another. And so when we look at another, I think I wrote something the other day that we used to say, I see the amazing in me. I see the amazing in you. And I hear you, I see you, I know you because I am you. And
ooh,
by I think recognizing that jealousy and competition really has no place to hold on anymore, because when I look at you and I see your enthusiasm, I know that you're mirroring an enthusiasm in me.
mm,
Or I see your passion to serve, I know you're mirroring to me a passion for my own call to service. Or I see your courage to step out into new realms and new ideas that might ignite within me a new level of courage within
mm,
me. So I believe that the most important person we can look at is to look at the person in front of us and know that what we love most, they're reflecting to us, and that we're to allow that to be part, really be expanded and elevated within ourselves. And that way we can become one in service to one another, celebration of one another. There's really no place for fear or hatred when we're there.
mm. Oh my God. That's powerful. That makes me emotional. I'm just so blessed to even be on the same platform with you right now. So I appreciate you, Marsh. And I don't know, is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you might want to share with us before you go?
Just say, way to go, Debbie, for following your vision and for, standing strong for all of us to say, go for it. Just go for it. What an amazing cheerleader and beautiful messenger you are. And I will also say that you create the space for safety. So
Mhm.
when people speak to you, it's because they know that you're free of judgment of anything they're going to say. And that's what safety is about. So you do an amazing, amazing, an amazing job. So the only thing you didn't ask me is what would I say about thanking you and the gratitude I have for you.
Oh, well, I have gratitude for you. I so appreciate this whole thing. And I'm going to make clips. There's going to be a ton of clips on this. Uh, I do. I'm appreciative to you. So hang tight just a minute, Marsh, and we're going to wrap this up. And you guys, you need to share this out. If you're here, go ahead and share this out. I don't say that very often, but these messages that were delivered tonight really need to be shared as many times as you can with your people, because in a world where there's war happening, and the last thing you said about what you found in life is we mirror one another. We need to see the love and the everything with one another and get along. So peace be with all of you. I'm so glad you were all here. Thank you so much. And I'll see y'all again next Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. Have a good night. Bye.
That floats around me, keeping me